What we're looking at now is yet another technique that can be used for integration. One of the biggest problems in C4 is trying to work out sometimes which technique to use. But there's a clue, and if you ever see anything like this, use, and it's often used as the letter U, and that is talking about integration by substitution. I'm not going to give you a set of sort of red box rules so much for how to do it. Just going to do an example and just watch and see what happens as we go through, would be what I say. So we go and integrate x over, and in brackets on the bottom, x plus 1 to the power of a half, and we're told to use the fact that u squared equals x plus 1, and that's going to be our substitution. So that's the question that's presented. What I would normally do is this: write the substitution down and rewrite it as x equals. So, can you rearrange that so it's x equals? What would it be? Someone say?
X equals u squared minus 1.
Okay. When you rewrite it as x equals, it's often then a good idea to work out dx du. In other words, to differentiate that. What is dx du going to be equal to if you differentiate that with respect to u? I think somebody said it over there. 2u. Okay. And then rewrite that as dx equals something. Just treat this as a fraction. So what would dx be equal to? Laura? 2u du, yeah, that's right, okay. I suppose in theory what I've sort of done here, down here, would be my sort of red box, I suppose. That's what I would do. And now, once you've done that, you look back at your question and you try and replace things in the question with things that you've written down over here. So what I'm going to do now is rewrite the original question substituting these bits where I can. So my original question, my integral was the integral of x over something. What can I replace x with? Yeah, x I can replace with u squared minus 1. Over x plus 1 to the power of a half. What's x plus 1 to the power of a half the same as, according to this? X plus 1 to the power of a half. Yeah, it's a square root of that, isn't it? X plus 1 to the power of a half is a square root of that. So it's a square root of that. And the square root of u squared is u. Then in the question, the next thing that's written down is dx. And what can I write down instead of dx? Dx is the same as 2u du. Then you hope you can do some cancelling. So if you look at that, can anybody spot any cancelling that could go on there? Billy?
What meaning does 2u du have any in that?
Don't worry about that yet. We'll deal with that in a minute, okay? Just first of all, can anybody see any cancelling that can go on there? I will deal with that in a minute, Billy. What cancelling can go on? What? That u there and that u there will cancel. There's a u on the top and a u on the bottom. So our question has become u squared minus 1 all times by 2 integrated with respect to u. So I'll answer your question now if I can, Billy. The du means you're integrating with respect to u.
Yeah.
So as long as the only letter over here It's the same as the letter after the u. It's just like a normal integral that you can do. If I was going to integrate that, what would be a good next step to do to make it a little bit easier? You could multiply out. What else could you do at that stage if you're integrating? And there's just a number here being multiplied by something. Sunny? Yeah, take the 2 out of the integral sign, through the integral sign. And we are left with this. The big hope in these questions is that that integral we have ended up with is easier than the integral we started with. So if you compare this, you've got to integrate u squared minus 1. Do we agree that integrating u squared minus 1 is easier than integrating that fraction there? If so, we're onto a good thing. So we come down here. I'll keep that 2 there. If you integrate u squared with respect to u, what do you get? Anybody?
You cubed over 3.
U cubed over 3. If you integrate 1 with respect to u, what do you get? U. And now I've finished integrating, what do I need to write down? Because I have no more integrating to do.
Plus c.
Plus c. So I've done my integrating. Does that look like a suitable answer to the question I started with? Why are you shaking your head, Tom? It's not good x's in it. So what we need to do now is change all u's back to x's. Change all u's back to x's. So from earlier on we wrote down what different things were. So it's 2 u cubed. Well, if I go back to this line up here, I had what u squared was. I'm just going to write that down over here at the side. If that's what u squared is, what will u cubed be? Or do you actually want to work out maybe what u will be? First of all, what would u be equal to, anybody? If u squared is equal to that, what's u equal to? Billy? Which I'm going to write as that power of a half. So what will u cubed be? It'll be that line cubed. Say it again?
X plus 1 multiplied by x plus 1 to the half.
That's true, but can you just write it as a bracket with a single power on it? Yes, so 3 over 2. That's right. Okay. So I went from that line to that line, from that line to that line. So u cubed is x plus 1 to the 3 over 2. That needs dividing by 3. And then I've got to subtract u, which I've worked out over here. I'll close my bracket and plus c, and then that is the answer to my question. An integral you couldn't do to start with, or was very nasty, when you introduced this other u thing, which was chosen specifically for you to make the question doable, enabled you to get the answer to the question. That is what happens, or should happen, in integration by substitution. Can we just simplify that answer? Because the answer may not just look like that if you checked it in an answer book. What can you see here and here? Someone said? X plus 1 to the half, yeah? So I'm ignoring that 2 out there a minute. X plus 1 to the half. What do I times that by to get that? Not the power of 3. If I put a power of 1 on there, what do I get if I times that and that together? Well, add the powers. Half add 1 is. Half add 1 is. Which is what I want. So that times by that gives me that bit there. That needs dividing by 3. Now that minus sign. What do I times this thing here by to get this thing here? Sorry? What do I times that by to get that? 1, because it's the same. So everything you can see there apart from the plus c could be written down that way. There's still a 2 at the beginning. So you could see the answer written down like that. Okay, I'm going to stop it there.
Did they also